Hello, everyone, and welcome to the historic episode 100 of Crunch Time with the N326 duo. My name is Sam Godsey, and with me today, as always, is Tanner Dislin. Tanner, we have a voice many of our listeners will recognize, but haven't heard in a while. Thought it was right to bring him back for episode 100. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Keegan Turnbow. Keegan, how you doing tonight?
First off, you gotta give
Yep,
it up.
clap it up for the boy.
The return.
Thank you, guys. I was expecting booze when I came back. I've this guy again, but it's good to be here. Yeah, it's do either of you know off the top of your head like where roughly in episodes it was where I decided to
I
part
think
ways?
around episode 60.
Around
Well,
episode 60.
if you listen, it's when the pod started to get better. It's about when you
This is
left.
also true.
Gotcha. I wouldn't know. I haven't been listening.
Classic.
So the original trio is back. We have an action-packed episode for y'all. We are going to discuss the classic winners, losers, talk some college football, our thoughts on Iowa's performance against Utah State, week 2 of Pick'em, and wrap up with questions of the episode. We talk about this and so much more on episode 100. Keegan, kick us off. Who's your winner for this episode?
You might be able to call this a cop out here because the winner of the week that I have is us, the fans. College
Nice.
football is back. We've technically week 1 just wrapped up, but we've had 2 weeks of college football, and today being Thursday when this episode drops, we get the NFL back too. So from here, moving all the way through February, we get football Thursday, sometimes some good football on Friday. There's always something in college football on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We're the winners here. We made it through the summer. Baseball is a fun sport in October. Baseball can be fun here and there, but we made it through the dog days. We can give ourselves a pat on the back because we've made it. The college football season is here.
Yeah, it is. And we can't be happier for it to be back. Tanner, who's your winner?
Yeah, Keith. I mean, you mentioned baseball can be fun. You're right. It totally can be fun. Sometimes it's not. Specifically for me this year, notice a lack of baseball content on the pod because, frankly, I don't want to talk about baseball. I hate the sport this year. But I will go back to the diamond for the winner of today's episode because we have the hottest team in baseball making a playoff push, and that is the Chicago Cubs. They're going to be my winner of today's episode. Right now, as it sits, they are 7-3 in their last 10, including a sweep of the Giants. The Giants team, not that's no slouch themselves, and are now only 1.5 games behind the Brewers in the NL Central. They have been the league's hottest team since the All-Star break in 51 games since the All-Star game. They are 34-17. That is a 667 win percentage and have erased a lot of room in between them and the Brewers. So look out for the Cubs. They are absolutely coming for that NL Central. So time to visit the Diamond, albeit momentarily, but the Cubs got to get a shout out for today's winner.
Go Cubs, go, baby. For
The Cubs have been
my,
hot.
yeah, they've been
It's been
scorching hot.
it's been crazy. Weren't like about a month and a half ago, weren't they about like I know they were hovering around 500 for quite a while, but weren't they a few games below for quite some time, like through late June or so?
I was going to
Because
say, just doing some math, right now they're 12 games over 500. And since the All Star break, they're 17 games over 500.
yeah,
So, yeah, they were below 500 at the All Star break.
and
That's
yeah,
how you
here
turn
they
it
are
on.
just nipping at the Brewers' heels.
Yeah, and so much so that if you remember going into the trade deadline, they're looking at, do the Cubs move Bellinger? Do the Cubs move Stroman? Do the Cubs move any pieces they have that can get something that's an expiring contract? They decided, you know what, we're going to keep our guys and try and make the playoff push. Looking like they made the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, my winner is going to be a sport we don't talk a whole lot on this episode, but needs to be a shout out in this one, and that's Nebraska volleyball. They recently had a game in their football stadium, and it set the record for most attended women's sporting event with 92,003 people. That's just absolutely insane. Definitely a step in the right direction for women's sports. I know Iowa is planning a women's basketball game at Kinnick. That's going to probably sell out. But yeah, definitely a cool moment for women's sports and the historic Nebraska volleyball team.
I'm a little concerned about that outdoor basketball game because that's gonna be played. I think it's like I don't know if you said, but I think it's like October 15th or
Oh,
something like that. Like
Oh, sick.
middle of October in Iowa. I mean, not even talking about the weather in terms of temperature, but just some of those crosswinds you can get in Kinnick.
uh-huh.
Like Caitlin Clark for three and not
Dude,
even close.
I
Yeah,
need the University of Iowa to come out there with the outdoor rims. Give me the double rims
there you go.
at the stadium. Make it a true outdoor basketball game. Maybe get some metal chains in there
There you
for
go.
the. You need that stuff. But going back to Nebraska, I mean, I have a lot of family who are Nebraska fans, and I mean, my grandpa, big not only Nebraska fan but Nebraska volleyball fan in particular. He's been talking about this game for months, and I mean months. He was so excited, and it was just it's just crazy to see, an entire fan base look forward to that game so much for volleyball. And then the other comment I had was, did you guys see the video of the team entrance
Yes,
into?
Yeah.
that was sick.
You could see, I mean, their head coach. He's the leader of arguably the best program in all of women's volleyball, and he's never got to do anything like that. And you could see him and his players as he was doing the tunnel walk that every athlete in the history of the world has ever dreamt about. Like, you
Yeah,
could see he was smiling from ear to ear. He enjoyed that so much, and how can you blame him? I mean, obviously that would be so freaking cool. So it's just really sweet
yeah,
to see that other sports get to experience that, and other sports that don't really usually get to. So
yeah. It was super cool. A super cool moment. And now let's go on the other side of things. Let's go to the loser of the episode. Tanner, who is your loser today?
yeah, I will be turning what should be a winner into a loser because I am going with Duke Professor Taylor. Have you guys heard this story?
I have, yeah.
Keegan, have you heard this story about Professor Taylor? The Duke quarterback who put on a spectacular performance, including one of the better looking quarterback runs for a touchdown in the game to upset Clemson. And I mean, they stormed the field. It looked like it was an absolute party in Durham. Um, in a post game interview, he asked Professor Taylor for an extension on a homework assignment, to which the professor responded and said that some offensive linemen on the team were able to get the assignment done. So, therefore, since they planned better than the quarterback, he was not going to get that extension. And that is a hashtag loser move. They just beat Clemson. Go party. I mean, this Duke football. Would give Daniel Jones? Like, what else do you have?
Yeah.
And they pull off a crazy upset in week one. Absolutely dominant fashion, might I add. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, he's got to go do a homework assignment because some offensive linemen did it. Get the hell out of here, Professor Taylor. You are bogus. So you're
Yeah.
my loser.
Yeah. Definitely a good loser there. Keegan.
My winner is the same person, the same people that I have as my loser, because we, the fans, are getting screwed out of more football because of a new rule in college football. The clock no longer stops after first downs unless it's within the last 2 minutes of either half. What that means is that we're getting 14 fewer plays per game if we're just taking week one this year versus week one last year. 14 fewer plays per game. And that's bringing the average number of drives down from 24 drives a game to 21 drives a game. So we're getting less football. And you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe that means that the game itself from like beginning to end is getting shorter too. No, it's the same length. The broadcast is the same length. They're just selling more commercials. So this year, this came from a Reddit account who took a look at the LSU Florida State game. The ad time for that game lasted 55 minutes and 57 seconds. The whole game, the game itself, actual gameplay, was 2 hours and 23 minutes, meaning ads was about a third of the game.
Jesus.
If you the slated kickoff for LSU Florida State was around 6:30. The game didn't actually start until 6:45, where you got 6 minutes of gameplay followed by 3 more minutes of commercials. Cuts back mid-play because it cut back in the middle of the play. It didn't come back and, all right, and now we're back on the field. No, in the middle of the play, as it's going on, we cut back to the middle of it with some more gameplay for a little bit, more commercials. It came out to between 6:30, the slated kickoff time, and 7:06. We got 20 minutes of commercials, 14 minutes of gameplay.
Jesus.
Oh,
that's brutal.
That was one specific game that was really bad, but that just kind of shows you how bad it is. In fact, Chip Kelly, I don't like agreeing with Chip Kelly, but he chewed out a reporter, and obviously it's not this reporter's fault. It's the NCAA, but he chewed out this reporter saying, man, I'm glad you guys are selling more commercials.
Yeah.
But like when Chip Kelly sees it's a problem, like we know it's a problem.
It's a problem. And I tell you what, another an adjacent loser to that is people who bet overs this week, because it's just less time for them playing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the books knew how to adjust accordingly for the new rule change. It seemed to me, at least, from I can't say I did a ton of research, but it looked like unders were kind of banging this weekend. So
yeah, that is just, everyone talks about like bad rules or bad rule changes, but that might be one of the worst in the recent memory of both NFL and college for sure. There were a lot of losers this week. I mean, you could start with Verizon Spectrum Cable. I don't know if y'all heard about this, but they ended their contract with ESPN as soon as the kickoff of the Utah-Florida game. Tough.
Good timing.
Yeah, good timing. We got SMU, of course, the laughing stock of college football right now, joining the ACC strictly because it is in Dallas, Texas, and that's like halfway for everybody. But my loser has to be Puddles, the Oregon Duck mascot. Had a
R.I.P. my dog.
Had a brutal Saturday. For those of you who don't know, Oregon put up 81 points on Saturday. And Puddles, their mascot, does so they score a touchdown, 7 push-ups. Then next it's 7 and then another. So it just adds up. He ended up doing 546 total. I've done like 20 before, and I'm like, this is it. I'm done. Like 546. I assume there were 2 mascots. I would assume that's the case. But even then is like still a freaking crazy amount of push-ups, man.
Yeah, what's more surprising, the Duck doing over 500 or Sam doing 20? I mean, what's more surprising?
Definitely me, let's be honest here.
Man, yeah, that's absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. Then that's why you don't become a mascot. But let's move on, get into the thick of this episode. It's going to be kind of a kickoff to our college football talk. It's kind of a segment we dove in probably like episode 1 with Capper Fact. This is just going to be college football week 1 overreactions. So I say we go around once. Everyone can throw in an input. And if you agree, disagree, let them know. So Keegan, kick us off, man.
Something that came to me first and foremost, looking at this past weekend of games, The Pac-12 is not only going to be the best and the most fun conference in the country, which is especially hilarious, knowing the future of this conference, known as the Pac-2 next year. But these are the teams that had double-digit win seasons last year: Washington, USC, Utah, Oregon, and Oregon State. You add obvious college, but yeah. So you have 5 teams in the Pac-12 that had 10 win seasons last year. All of them are primed for another great year this year. Add obvious college football playoff team, Colorado. That's going to be a problem conference moving forward. This is going to be a very high-powered, not a ton of defense, as historically is known for the Pac-12. This is going to be a really fun and deep conference, which, again, surprising for a conference that's essentially dissolving next year into nothingness.
Yeah, I mean, Pac-12 is always fun. A lot of high scoring. Best conference, I don't know about that, but they are deep. I mean, they went 13-0. Oregon State got a dog in that DJ Uiagalelei guy. I mean, Michael Penix, he was a dark horse candidate for Heisman for me last episode. I mean, obviously, you have Caleb Williams. Would have loved to have seen him play last week, but of course, Pac-12 Network holding it down. But yeah, Pac-12 can be fun. Last season as a conference, going to become the Pac-2 here shortly. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Don't know. It might be a little early, but I get it. 13-0. It's hard to say it's not the best conference.
Keegan, I am absolutely buying this take. I think the Pac-12 this year is going to be awesome. You have elite teams who are fighting for playoff berth in USC and Oregon. You have Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. Obviously, Caleb Williams won the damn thing last year. Bo Nix is a legitimate Heisman contender. You have Cam Rising, who's coming back from injury. Oh, they beat the crap out of Florida with a backup quarterback. Then you have DJ Uiagalelei, the guy we were so excited for with Clemson last year. Now he's to Oregon State. And as you said, Keegan, a team that won double-digit games a year before. You have Colorado, who looks like they're the most exciting team in the Big 12. And then you have Washington, who, as Sam said, his dark horse to win the Heisman and one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football right now, in Michael Penix Jr. This conference is absolutely loaded. Right now, I think they have 6 teams in the top 25, and it might be 7. I was kind of counting quickly, and I might have skipped one, but still, they have a lot of teams in the top 25. They have really good quarterback play. The only one I think right now that's a major threat to just kind of fade is Colorado, because they're still the question mark right now off of a high in week 1. But every other team in that list, your Utah, your USC, your Oregon, your Washington, these teams are really good.
Yeah, no doubt. Tanner, give us your first overreaction for week 1.
Yes. So my overreaction right now, we're going to stick into the same conference. We're going to stay in the Pac-12. You may have heard a young lad by the name of Shedeur Sanders had a career week last week. So my overreaction is Shedeur Sanders will be a finalist for the Heisman Trophy.
It's hard to argue with that. I mean, it's funny because I also have Colorado Buffalo being a Heisman candidate later in the season. But yeah, Shedeur Sanders, probably.
You know what? Should we combine those real quick?
Yeah,
screw it. A Colorado Buffalo will be a Heisman finalist, whether it's Shedeur Sanders or it's
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Didn't Travis Hunter play like 110 snaps?
Oh yeah, he played both ways.
I think
it's crazy. Making fantastic catches.
Yeah,
incredible picks,
interceptions,
picks,
touchdowns.
I will say the one thing that I think he is a Heisman candidate. Will he be? I don't know. I think it's become a quarterback award. And I know you're going to say, what about Devontae Smith? Of course, he was incredible. But if he keeps up what he did in week 1, I have a very hard time keeping him out of that Heisman race.
Yeah. I mean, dude
So-
set a school record in week 1. So, I mean, you keep that up. You keep breaking records over and over again. If you can manage
Yeah.
that.
So I'm gonna need an answer. Sam, officially, does a Buffalo make the Heisman Trophy finalists? What is it, 3 or
Yeah.
4? 4?
4? Yeah.
I think it's 4.
Dude, the media hype is so real
Yeah?
with them.
All right. We got one. Keegs?
Yeah. If we're strictly talking finalist, there'll be one as a finalist, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I like it.
You?
I'm going to go no. I think the hype dies out by the end of the year, and I think some of the other guys we talked about in last episode will work their way into the forefront. But it's very possible, very, very possible the way they played in week 1.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on in the Pac-12. I'm gonna switch to the beloved Big Ten. Is this an overreaction? Is this not an overreaction? I don't know. It's for the listeners to decide, but I think Iowa will have a new OC and new head coach next year.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like
a
this
new
a lot.
OC.
I like
a new
this
OC.
a lot.
No, OC's already written in the stars. Let's be honest.
Yeah. A new OC, that's not crazy. But so you think Kirk is gone next
Dude,
year?
I think if they fire Brian, he's gonna get pissed and he's out. I don't know. I know the new AD. I'm blanking on her name right now. She's not about the ference, which I'm all about. So we'll see. I think it's time for a change. I just don't know how them firing Brian is gonna impact Kirk. Will he be like, yeah, he sucked? I doubt it, because he should have been fired like 2 years ago. But we'll see. I think they're both gone now.
I think that's a pretty good take. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to need a scoring eruption from the defense to save Brian's job at this point. And if that doesn't occur, what does Kirk do? I mean, I wonder. I wonder just in general, regardless of his son, whether he's starting to think about retirement. I mean,
Yeah.
you may or may not know this. He is the longest tenured coach in Division One.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, they never talk
Breaking
about
news.
it ever. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I think that's a pretty good take. So my official answer is yes. I buy that.
Let's go.
With Brian gone, Kirk is gonna Kirk is just gonna retire and ride off into the sunset.
I go back and forth on it. I don't think that'll be the case. I think we're gonna have a situation where I can't think of the name of the senator. You know, he's gonna be like Mitch McConnell on the sideline in 20 years from now. He's just gonna freeze up. I feel like Kirk is gonna be one of those guys that just does it as long as he can.
Yeah.
And like
Chuck Grassley is who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say Chuck Grassley, Iowa senator. But have you guys seen this thing of like Mitch McConnell? He's the
okay. I see what you're talking about now. I got you.
Just freezing up.
Yeah, just completely freezing up. But I mean, if you want to talk about like family dynamics, my mind immediately went to Doc and Austin Rivers in the Clippers. Doc at that time, head coach and GM of the team. And I know it's a little different because player and coach is a little different than coach and assistant coach, but Doc got rid of his ass when it was needed. But then again, it seems like it was needed for Brian a few years ago. Like maybe I'm talking myself into this. I'm tentatively saying no, but I could see it, but I don't think it happens.
Yeah. All right. Next overreaction. Whoever.
No Bryce Young. No problem. Jalen Monroe went 13 for 18, 194 passing yards, got 3 tuds in the air. He ran in 2 tuds by himself on the ground. Alabama doesn't rebuild, it reloads.
So And what like do you is the end game of this take that they make the playoff, or just that they're good?
They'll make the college football playoff this year.
Huh. I like it. I like it. I think we're gonna see a different Alabama team this year. I really do. I think they're gonna go old school with it. They're just gonna run the ball down your throat. Obviously impressive performance by their quarterback week one. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt with who they played. But the real test is going to be this upcoming week against Texas. But I'm buying into Alabama this year. I think people have been down on pissing Nick Saban off, and I like that take. I like them making the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they'll be a very good team. Shocker there. Alabama will be good. But I'm not buying that they make the playoff. And my reasoning for that is I think they will satisfy the criteria for a potential playoff team. I just think things out of their control, i.e., a much better Pac 12, and some other teams that could possibly get in the mix where in years past, that wasn't happening, and other conferences were kind of cannibalizing themselves and playing themselves out of playoff contention. I think Alabama will lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then other teams just will win their conference, and that will catapult them ahead of Alabama. So I don't think they'll make the playoff, but I do think they will be a very good college football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geeks.
Yeah, like that's the biggest question is with I don't think anyone is going to really be contending out of the Big 12. For the Big 10, it feels like it as it does every year, it's going to come down to Michigan and Ohio State. Georgia is going to make it because they have an incredibly easy schedule. It all comes down to the Pac-12 because I think we'll get into that later. But yeah, it definitely comes down to whether someone emerges above the Pac-12 or if it's a situation where it eats itself. Because if we have a one-loss Alabama team that lost in the SEC championship against Georgia, a team that, like, say they go undefeated, versus a Pac-12 team that has two losses but won the championship there, that's going to be something that's interesting to see how the committee decides. Is it going to be a two-loss champion out west, or is it going to be a one-loss runner-up to a team that hasn't lost?
Sure. No, I get that. I think in
the last 2 years.
And I think in that specific scenario, the committee's shown they're going to go with the one-loss team over the two-loss team.
But I just think that's just one scenario.
Be more. Yeah, right. And I just think this year they will be more one-loss or zero-loss conference champions than years past. So the two teams from the same conference might not happen this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Can I jump in with another one here?
Yeah, just go ahead.
I think we have a good segue from Keegan. You said we're going to talk about it later. How about we talk about it now? My next one is Florida State is the class of the ACC and will make the playoff.
You know what, Tanner? That was one of my overreactions. I totally agree. Had a very easy schedule. I think their toughest opponent this year is Duke. And who knows if that first game was just a fluke for Duke. But yeah, I'm buying into Florida State this year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's for Florida State. It's either going to be at Clemson with a Brian Ferentz like offense, or it's going to be hosting Duke. That's going to be their hardest game, and there's nothing like they're going to roll if they play. If the team that we saw beat up LSU is who this team is, it's going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're totally right. I do want to give them credit for scheduling a tough non-conference game. We're talking about how easy their schedule is. the toughest. I mean, if you look at the entirety
Yeah.
of their schedule, far and away the toughest team, they beat the living crap out of them, beat them by 20
Yeah.
points, right?
Yeah.
So
With
now
a
you have,
Heisman quarterback on LSU's sideline, too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis looked absolutely awesome. He
Yeah.
threw for 342 and 4 touchdowns. Um, yeah, I'm totally buying this. I assume seems like we're all on the same page here between the schedule and
Yeah.
all that. I mean, I'm buying it. They're the best team in the ACC right now, and
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
unless they lose to both Duke and
Yeah.
Clemson, or maybe another team, they shouldn't. I know they're Keegan, you had mentioned they're home against Duke. They're on the road at Clemson, but unless they lose to a team they're not supposed to, they
Yeah.
should be waltzing their way into the playoffs.
No, for sure. My last one is actually going to be going back to Keegan's point, talking about all the kind of runners for all the conference championship. I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I do not think it's going to be Michigan and Ohio State. I think it's going to be Michigan and Penn State. I think Penn State finally has a quarterback. He looked phenomenal. Penn State has so many returning starters on that defensive end, and that experience is going to come out. I wasn't overly impressed with Ohio State. They look kind of sloppy. Kyle McCord kind of looked terrible, if I'm being honest. But I got Michigan and Penn State running for the Big Ten title this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if your statement is Penn State will make the playoff, I think I'm not quite buying that. But if your statement is Penn State's the second best team in the Big Ten, I am
Yeah.
100% buying that. Ohio State, you mentioned it, they look terrible. An Indiana team that frankly is not good at all. Ohio State did not look comfortable at all. And yeah, I mean, Penn State arguably has the best defense in the country. One of the best, certainly one of the best in Big Ten. And Michigan has a claim to that as well. But I mean, their defense is unreal. They have great quarterback. Yeah, I'm totally buying the Penn State hype this year, man. They're going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you,
like
yeah.
it's saying that it comes down to Michigan, Ohio State, that was definitely overlooking Penn State. It was more so talking about how it typically comes down, like, since that's the last week, the
Oh,
last
for
game
sure.
of the season. But yeah, Penn State's not a team to be overlooked this year.
Yeah, definitely. Any last overreactions? No? All
Those are
right.
all the ones I had, man. I think we did a pretty good job on
Yeah,
that.
I think we hit all aspects of college football. So let's move on to our team. The Iowa Hawkeyes took on Utah State. Looked about as Iowa as ever. Actually not. I take that back. We scored 14 points in our first two drives, and then Iowa came out to play. They ended up winning 24-14. Keegan, what were your thoughts on this one?
I think you can pretty easily summarize what we saw on Saturday in just two words: missed opportunities. This was an Iowa team that had a dropped interception by Cooper DeJean. He had nothing but daylight in front of him. It looked like it was going to be pick six. It was a little low, but he dropped it. He had a chance. He didn't get it. Iowa failed to convert a 4th and 1 on the third drive of the game, I believe it was. It was somewhere around the Utah 30-yard line. And with a questionable play call, if I'm remembering right, we had LaShawn Williams in. We didn't have Keegan Johnson in. And we could have brought in, as we saw come in later in the game, we could have brought in like 6'3", 260-pound backup quarterback Deacon Hill for QB sneak. But instead, we bring in backup running back, and there was some motion going on back there. Questionable play call, failed to convert a 4th and 1. And then at the end of the first half, Luke Lachey and Nico Reganey both dropped back-to-back touchdowns on back-to-back plays. That drive ended in a field goal. All of that was just in the first half. So it dropped pick six, failed to convert a 4th and 1, almost in the red zone, and then back-to-back dropped touchdowns where we ended up scoring a field goal. You put all of that together, that's potentially 14, 17 points that Iowa left on the board. That's That's not even talking about all of the missed blocking assignments. But if you want to boil it down to Saturday, there might be some fans. It might be one of you two guys. We'll see here soon. That might be harping on something. I think that this game could have easily looked like Indiana, Iowa a few years ago, where that was a top 25 matchup. Iowa just rolled. It could have easily looked like that, but just a few plays didn't go there. I think those are plays that Iowa's going to make. I think we're going to be fine. But this game, missed opportunities. Was way closer because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tanner, your thoughts?
Yeah, Keegan, I think you absolutely nailed it right there. I mean, the offense continually moved the football. It was questionable personnel decisions. Of course, we have to bring that back to the coaching staff. But overall, I was happy with what I saw. The ability. I mean, even there was a scoring drought for Iowa. We mentioned how that might be all misleading, as Keegan said. But just the ability to come out and score first is something completely new to us.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first
passing touchdown since 1930 on an opening drive.
I mean,
I didn't even know passing was allowed back then.
These are unreal stats we're getting right here from program history, and it's just this is now our reality that we can actually throw the ball. And yes, I think there's certainly not a reason to be concerned about the offense, unless you want to talk about the health of Cade McNamara. Obviously, he was pulled a little early, and I think rightly so, because he is not 100%. I also am a little bit concerned with the offensive line. They were certainly looked like they were improved from a year ago, and even a little bit more mobility, even while injured. Cade McNamara is infinitely more mobile than Spencer Petras, who was in the backfield last year. But I do want to see continual improvement from the offensive line throughout the season, especially with the health of Cade McNamara in question. I do think that can be a problem spot, but all in all, no need to overreact. Also, keep in mind that this Utah State team, they went to a bowl game last year. Sure, they lost some players, but this is not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. Mountain West team, they're pretty good. Like, you beat them comfortably. Your quarterback's healthy. Let's get back to the drawing board and prepare for Iowa State, because just no need to overreact. It was a comfortable win.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of concerns going into next week. Obviously, we'll dive into that Iowa State, Iowa, and pick them. But I think there's the theme of this game. I think is we kind of expose the areas where we need to improve. Obviously, secondary, you had Xavier Wampa, Cooper DeJean, kind of going to be the glue to that defense. Obviously, didn't get a lot of Cooper DeJean got a lot of playing time. Xavier's kind of new in this role. A lot of new players on the defense. There's going to be growing pains. And if we can if that was our crappy game on defense, I'm all for it. Obviously, Terry, you mentioned that Cade McNamara incident. Not 100%. That is a little concerning because he probably looked like the best. No, not probably. He was the best Iowa quarterback we've had since Nate Stanley. I apologize to Nate Stanley because I definitely talked crap about you, but God, I miss you, bud. But another thing, offensive line needs to improve, which is kind of like Iowa's bread and butter. We're corn-fed linemen.
Yeah, this is weird.
And we produce NFL linemen that play 10 to 12 years in the NFL. And it did not look like that on Saturday. But with all that being said, ideal win. 24-14. Saw improvements in offense. Kind of coasted to the end, which that's fine in week one. And we scored less than 25 points, so that's a huge plus. That just means Brian's got
a win-win.
It's a win. It's ideal win, like I said. But yeah, comfortable win. I know a lot of people are kind of upset that we should have ran up the score where Iowa, we don't do that. But yeah, easy dub.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might have figured it out. I think Cooper DeJean was in on this. He was did not want Brian Ferentz to come back, so he dropped that
Yeah,
surefire pick
there you
six
go.
on purpose. So he did it for the fans. That's
Yeah, I
Shout
don't know.
out Coop.
Maybe had the under too.
Ah, no.
I say we I say
ah,
we know Iowa players and their gambling history right now.
dude.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Next
I
week,
just
Iowa State. How many bets do you think are that on that game?
just a few quick things to add at the very end because we're all on the same page. A few other causes for concern. Sam, you're talking about the offensive line. We failed to rush for 100 yards against Utah State. That's something
Mm-hmm.
that's a little questionable. Xavier Mwampa had an interception, looked really great, left the game with a cramp. The
Oh, sick.
secondary as a whole, that unit looked great. It's not an incredibly deep unit for Iowa. So Xavier Wampa, again, left with a cramp. So in all likelihood, fine. But his health is going to be something that's really interesting to watch moving forward. And one last thing, the tight end play between Eric All and Luke Lachey, that might be among the best tight end rooms in the country because that was great. I guess I have a lot here. I just going through my notes. I looked through something that I noticed throughout the game, just watching it, was we had a lot of third and longs. And so I went through and I went through the play by play and I looked. We had 7 third and 8 or longer. That's something that has to be cut down.
Yeah.
When and but one thing to be hopeful about, even with the quarterback who was hampered, even with the offensive line that was missing blocks, that we didn't rush for 100 yards, no turnovers. You do that,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to win ball games.
Exactly.
Bingo. Take care of the football. Yeah, and also, I mean, if we keep adding on here, of course, we could talk about Iowa football for literal days, if not weeks. But yeah, the third and long resulted in 6 for 17 on third down. So not very
Yeah.
efficient on third down. All needs to be cleaned up. But week one.
Week one dub. What Hawks 1-0 heading to Cyhawk. Let's get it. And next, we're going to kind of dive in a little more on some of the overreactions we had. We're going to talk about those college football playoff predictions. We do this every year. Most of the time, it is god awful. But let's see if that week one prepared us to do a little better this year. Tanner, give me your top 4 teams and the last one looking on the outside. On the outside looking in.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I mean, we'll start number 1, Georgia. That's all I got to say. It's Georgia. My number 2, I am keeping in line with the current rankings. I think that's going to be Michigan. They're the best team in the Big Ten. JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum is one hell of a rushing duo. They have the best offensive line in the Big Ten, if not the country. Their ground game is unreal, and they bludgeon you to death on the ground, and then JJ McCarthy can take the top off the defense. So I think Michigan will be the number 2 seed. Number 3, I am going to go with a team I talked about before, a team that I was absolutely buying was going to make the playoffs. I'm going to go with Florida State at number 3. Yeah, I mean, I think right now I'm circling at Clemson. That's the game you got to win, and we talked about this already, so no need to go too far in depth there, but I think they will be either undefeated or a one-loss conference champion. And then in my 4 spot, I am taking the return of the newly minted best conference in college football, the Pac-12. Give me the Trojans, baby. Fight on. I like Caleb Williams. I
Wow.
like this USC team. The defense is definitely suspect.
Just a little bit.
However, the defense is suspect throughout the Pac-12. The goal of this conference is to score more than the other team, and I think USC is best equipped to do that. So I am going with the Trojans. 4 different conferences in the playoff for the first time in a long time.
And who you got on the outside looking in?
Oh, yes. And then on the outside looking in, a team that we had talked about before that I already said was going to have one loss, just not going to win their conference. I think that's going to be Bama in the 5.
Yep. Keegan, we saw a little bit of reaction there. What you got?
My reaction was actually because someone took Justin Tucker in the 11th round.
Ooh.
So a little bit of a reach on Justin Tucker.
Just a little
That was
bit.
that was my reaction. I'm currently on the clock.
All right, I'll take over college football.
All right, hang on. Sorry, I made my pick.
Okay.
Tanner, I have pretty much the same thing as you. I got Georgia, I got Michigan, I got Florida State. The only thing is just we're just seeing things a little differently with out west. And you talking about USC rising above. We were talking about this a little earlier with both of us think Alabama's going to be that one loss team. I just think that's, USC is going to be upset a few times. That's the only difference because I got Alabama sliding in at my 4. I'll take USC at my 5. And I didn't really think about a 6. You can have that be Penn State.
There you go.
Interesting. So I mean, obviously, that's not the point of this little prediction segment here, but in that case, it would be an Alabama-Georgia semifinal.
It would be
only a few weeks after their meeting in the SEC championship game.
Have they done that before?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because I don't like in this particular situation, like unless you're throwing in a pack or a Big 12 team, or you're having some, Tulane going undefeated and getting in or something like that. We all agreed that, the Big 12 is not involved. It's going to be one or the other. But with that scenario playing out, if the Pac-12 eats itself and Alabama sneaks in, there's no way they would put them above Florida State. They're probably going to go undefeated. Michigan, they're going to be probably either undefeated or a 1-loss champ. Yeah, they'd have to be that way. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point because I made a quick little adjustment. I don't believe this personally. I don't believe this is the 4, but with that in mind, I think it is. I got Georgia number 1. Gonna be the best team. College football. I'm a little higher on Florida State than y'all two. I have them coming in at 2. I think they're gonna go undefeated this year.
I don't hate that.
And then 3 because they're probably not going to match up Alabama and Georgia. I got Alabama at 3. I think Nick Saban and the Tide roll through the SEC, drop one to Georgia in the championship, but they slide in. And then number 4, I have my Big Ten champion, Penn State, and at 5, I have Michigan on the outside looking in. But yeah, it's kind of, if you were to pick a Big 12 team to somehow sneak in, who is, I think personally, I got Texas. I think they have the most talent. Quinn Ewers could be, no, always. Quinn Ewers is definitely a Heisman candidate, but is Texas back? Probably not. But that's probably the team I'm looking at coming potentially from the Big 12. But what are y'all thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know, Sam. You asked for a Big 12 team, then you went and gave me an SEC team.
That's true.
So I guess I'll have to counter with a Big 12 team, and I'd probably Arizona.
There you go.
I think that's how I counter with that. But no, you're absolutely right. It's Texas. I mean, other than that, the conference just maybe Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma did look really good in week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it.
They're the common 2. I mean, the other teams that were ranked, we had TCU. Obviously, they lost to Colorado, fell out of the rankings pretty quickly. I mean, Kansas State's a pretty good team. I guess I'll give them that, but they'll probably stick within that team range. I don't really see them climbing much beyond that. So yeah, it's.
So they're probably gonna sneak in because you said that.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
in there, but yeah, it's got to be Texas.
Yeah. Keegan?
Give me Kansas.
There you go.
Rock Chalk
Love
Jayhawk,
that.
baby.
We're talking about college football, not basketball, Keegan.
Some Leopold love.
Oh.
Hey,
Well, give me
Matt loved to
long
Leopold.
time Big 12 team Cincinnati.
There you go.
Give me
Are we sleeping on BYU
baby.
right now?
Yeah. It's like
Good
we're
Lord.
pretty much all on the same page. It feels like that's the way it's gonna go. With Texas. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I think those are gonna be I think we're all on the same page. It's between like 6 teams. But let's go on to the professional side of things. Week 1 of NFL is this weekend. Kicks off when this episode drops. We got the Lions versus Chiefs. Going to be a good one, especially without Travis Kelce and a pretty inexperienced wide receiving core by Patty Mahomes. I want to know, what are kind of your 3 questions for your team, Tara? Obviously, Vikings. Keegan's probably a Jets fan now. No, I'm kidding.
You mean Green Bay East?
Yeah, okay. That's true. And of course, me with the Cowboys. Tara, we'll kick it off with you. What are kind of 3 questions you got going into this season for your Vikings? Is Kirk O'Chains going to be Kirk O'Chains or check down Kirk? Let me know.
Yeah, we'll start. I mean, number one question marks going into the season. It's the biggest question mark easily with the team, and that's what's the defense going to look like, right? Last year, they were absolutely abysmal. Danny Dimes earned a gazillion dollars simply from beating up a horrible Vikings defense. But they got rid of the old coordinator. Don't even need to say his name. He's gone. He's out of my hair. The bad man is gone. Brought in, of course, Brian Flores, who has had a lot of success building defenses. So there's no reason they should be worse. I mean, it's hard to get worse than what they were. But any sort of improvement on the defensive end certainly would be a huge lift to this team. So new coordinator, some new players in. What the hell is this defense going to look like? Number 2 in my question mark, it's going to be the offensive line. Like what is going on with this Minnesota offensive line? I mean, last year you had 2 tackles who were absolutely amazing. And then the guards and the interior linemen weren't that great. The center, Garrett Bradbury, someone they had drafted who had struggled for Minnesota for a while, was actually decent last year. But do we see any improvement on that offensive line? We all know how mobile Kirk is. So believe it or not, a good clean pocket is pretty important to Mr. Cousins. So the offensive line is a little bit of a question mark, specifically the interior offensive line, a group that has struggled in the past, and they bring back all 5. So improvement, maybe. And then my last question mark is going to be the replacement. This team lost a lot of veterans. Lost a lot of veterans, of players that have contributed to the Vikings' success, I guess I'll put in air quotes. But guys like Adam Thielen, you bring in Jordan Addison, you have KJ Osborne, who's normally a wide receiver 3. Will he step up into a wide receiver 2? And of course, Dalvin Cook, being one of the better running backs in the NFL for a decent amount of time now, 5-6 years, he's gone. So Alexander Madison step up and Ty Chandler step up in the backfield. So to run those back, what the hell is defense going to look like? What's that interior lineman, offensive line going to look like? And how are they going to replace some big time contributors namely Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are going to be some interesting topics we're going to be checking out all throughout the season with the Vikings. Keegan, what about your Packers?
There's one obvious question mark with Green Bay. So we'll go to that last. Let's start with what we know about Green Bay. We know that it's a pretty solid defense. It was one that underperformed last year. It had a few injuries that took away depth. If that's a unit that stays healthy, that should be among the top 10 defenses in the league with a possibility of being elite. I don't think it's going to be. There are some Green Bay fans that think that this defense is going to be, among the best in the league. I'm not that crazy, But this is going to be a good, maybe great defense that can keep games low for an offense that may struggle at the beginning of the season. We know that this team has one of the best rushing attacks in all of the NFL. When you have that 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon could start for some teams. Like, he's a good backup running back. That 1-2 combo, that's a great punch. Green Bay has a great offensive line. Again, if healthy, there are some health issues there. So the big question for me comes down to Jordan Love. Obviously, he showed in the preseason that, he's an okay pocket passer. Preseason ball, get that out of here. I don't know a thing about Jordan Love. He played well at the end of the Philadelphia game, but that was a game where Green Bay was down 2 scores. The Eagles defense, while one of the best in the league, was one that really wasn't rushing everybody. It was more prevent defense. The other game, he did outperform Patrick Mahomes, but that was a weird game. That was a weird part of the year where Patrick Mahomes was really struggling. I think this team, where this is going to end up going, is I think the ceiling is probably around 11-6. If Jordan Love can be that guy, then this is going to be a team that's going to ho-hum their way through the season. They have a 3rd place schedule. It's going to be on the easier side. But if he really struggles, if he's not a franchise quarterback, this is going to be a really tough team. This is going to be a really long season for Green Bay. It could be as bad as you flip those two. It could be 6-11. The ceiling the floor is going to be higher due to all of those things that I said earlier. But I think what will end up happening is they'll be a pretty middle of the road. I'm going to predict around 9-8. I think they'll be above average. They'll be vying for that 7th seed. But it's going to be a different year for Green Bay, obviously. So it's one that I'm really excited about because there's really no expectations for the first time since I've really been a fan.
Yeah.
So I'm just ready to see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns in Green Bay, especially with.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a little bit of a lag. I didn't know you started, but of course I do got to jump in here. The statement that he outperformed Patrick Mahomes is in fact true. They were both objectively bad quarterback performances. That game
100%.
That game was 13-7, and Jordan Love threw for 190 yards and a touchdown and an interception. So yeah. Like, if you want to chime in, that was not a good performance, but he did outperform Patrick Mahomes. So got to tip your cap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one game, that TUD was pretty impressive. The Green Bay was down late in the game. He, drove the team down the field, got a touchdown. He made some good throws, some iconic back shoulder throws that we've seen Rodgers throw again and again. There's been glimpses in camp and in preseason of different things where you squint in your eyes, you're not sure if it's a 10 or a 12. So
get the hell out of here. Get the
and
is
that's
Green
another
Bay going,
reason why
is Green Bay going back to back to back Hall of Famers? I'm not going to say it, but some other people might.
Yeah, but let's
Tanner,
what
would you do with yourself? What would you do with yourself if Jordan Love was that guy again?
This is a shocker. I would not like it. I would not be happy.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
I don't even know. I can't even think about that right now.
Yeah. For my Cowboys, there's, like Keegan, there's one concern, one big question. I'll touch on that later. First concern I have is, how will Mike McCarthy lead this offense? We got rid of one of the best offensive coordinators in Kellen Moore to the Chargers. Mike McCarthy, we've seen him run the offense, questionable decisions throughout. So that's a big concern. Second, pretty basic, but will the Cowboys win games they're supposed to? They have a pretty weak schedule. But there's going to be some games we lose. We just need to win the games we are supposed to. And of course, the last question coming into the season is how will Dak play? Dak play. He claims he's not going to throw 10 interceptions. I'm calling cap on that. But he has probably the most weapons we've seen in a while from the Cowboys. We have another season of CeeDee Lamb. We brought in Brandon Cooks. He's going to be wide receiver too. Michael Gallup, another good player. So those are our wide receiver three, our three wide receivers, and of course, got rid of Zeke. Unfortunately, that 1-2 punch with Tony Pollard and Zeke was unmatched.
Great center.
But all right. But I think we kind of made the right move here, going with TP. I mean, the questions of the offseason is, does running backs deserve to get paid? And the question is, you got to adapt your game. I think Tony Pollard adapts to more wide receiver role out of the backfield, but can break off some runs. I just don't think Zeke was that guy. But obviously, Dak Prescott, the amount of weapons we have, that's going to be the big question coming in. I hope I got the Cowboys going 10-7. They kind of have a brutal stretch towards the end of the year versus the Eagles, at the Bills, at the Dolphins. So that's a tough 3-week stretch there. I think we dropped both to the Eagles, Chargers, 49ers, another L, and I think we dropped against the Jets in week 2. But the 10-7 sounds about right for the Cowboys. Pretty average year. We'll probably sneak into playoffs. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking going into season for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it 100%. It was absolutely the right move to lean with Tony Pollard. Another one I'd like to throw in there is, I think, yes, they do have a lot of weapons. However, I think replacing Dalton Schultz is going to be one
Yeah.
that's going to be big for the Cowboys this year. He was a security blanket for Dak. A lot of the times when they needed that few extra yards and a lot of production from the tight end that needs to be replaced. So I'd like to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Tanner, go ahead, Keeks.
Oh, I was just agreeing, and I think something to toss in is that the NFC is particularly weak this year, and so even if the Cowboys don't win the division, which you got the Eagles in there, and so they've only gotten better since last year. Had a hell of a draft, brought in some great free agents, and putting in Infinity Stones, feeling like on the gauntlet, but they should pretty easily be the 5 seed, and should pretty easily make the second round. That would put them in exactly the same spot as last year, where they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. So they'll, in all likelihood, they'll play the winner of the NFC South. Is that the Saints? Is that the Falcons? Whoever's coming out of that division's getting beat. Getting beat first round of the playoffs. You can book it. That definitely won't age poorly.
Freezing cold takes.
But yeah, that's the Cowboys at the very least should make it to the second round of the playoffs.
You think, right?
As long as, I mean, like you said, Dak Prescott's he's my fantasy quarterback with the draft I just did. He's throwing under 10 picks. Gotta be, right? He's the guy.
You'd think.
I'm all aboard the Dak train, man.
Yeah. Dude, when he said that, I'm not gonna throw 10 picks. Like, come on, Dak. You're better than that. But we also reloaded on defense. Brought in a vet, cornerback Stephon Gilmore. I think he's gonna be a big asset. Obviously, we still have the greatest cornerback in the game, Trayvon Diggs. Everyone knows that. But Tanner, I don't think you gave a season prediction for your Vikings, so let's hear that now.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth. I'm in the 10-7, 9-8 range, which is really unfortunate because I genuinely believe that this year's team plays head to head against last year's team. This year's team win. This year's team wins. I think the team is better. You just have the division winner schedule. You won't have the one possession game luck. All that stuff factors in. But why not be an optimist? Give me 10-7 for Minnesota this year. I think that. I mean, who knows if that's enough to win the North? It very well
Yeah.
could be. 9-8 might be enough to win the North. 8-9 might be enough to win the North. We just don't know. But I'll go 10-7.
Yeah, I think we kind of all are in the same range. We're not going to be
Mm-hmm.
up there with the freaking Bills, Chiefs, all them. We're going to be middle packs, possibly sneak into the playoffs and win a game or two. But I don't think we have Super Bowl expectations this year.
Certainly not.
And now we talked about college football, talked about the pros. It's time for Pick'em. So we're going to change it up this year. New rule. In order to keep it competitive, we are going to start to choose a super dog. So what that means is, like college game day, they choose a super dog. So last week, Colorado obviously covered plus 20.5 over TCU. And if that person gets their super dog correct, is plus 2 points. We're not going to be doing records for every right pick. You get plus one, but you don't get subtracted for misses. I just think that that'll keep it more interesting and an opportunity to come back after you're down a little bit. So let's hop right into it. First game, Ole Miss at ranked 22 is a 7-point favorite over 24 Tulane. Keegan, who you got here?
I'm gonna take Ole Miss to win, but I think it's gonna be a close one. I think Tulane has the bodies to where they can put some pressure on Ole Miss, and I think they have the offense to keep up with Ole Miss. But the Rebels, they're not just a passing team. I think they have a better run team than Tulane does. I think Ole Miss just has the better athletes, more talent. They're going to make the bigger plays down the stretch, and I like Ole Miss to win it.
Yeah, fair.
Not so fast, my friend. Give me the green wave. I'm going with Tulane here. First off, I like this team a lot. You kind of remember how their season ended a year ago in that bowl game against USC. There's a lot of talent on this team. I know we're talking about this year's team as compared to last year's team, but Ole Miss looked very good in week one. I think they put up 70 plus in week one, and I'm thinking they may be a little bit hungover after how easy it was, a little bit relaxed on how good their team actually is, overlooking the green wave, and especially it's in New Orleans. I'm going with Tulane here. I think they get it done at home.
Not so fast. I got Ole Miss. I love what I saw from Jackson Dart week one. So I got Ole Miss here. Probably next up, probably the best game of the weekend, at least on college football slate. Number 11, Texas heading to Tuscaloosa. Minus 7.5, Alabama. Who y'all got here?
Alabama. I mean, I got Alabama winning this game, especially in Tuscaloosa. We're having a little bit more of a conversation. If it's in Austin, I mean, that game was very close last year.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to be this year, I'm afraid. Or it may be closer than one would initially think. But I know Texas is a good team. Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback, but Alabama's winning this game at home.
Yeah. Keeks.
Yeah, I got Alabama making my college football playoff. I talked about Jalen Monroe earlier. This is a Bama team. They put up 56 points pretty easily last week. They could have put up a whole lot more. I know it was just Middle Tennessee State, but this is a team that has too much talent not to win.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with y'all. I got Alabama. I do think like Tanner said, if it's in Austin, we're talking a whole different ballgame. I mean, Texas was on their way to win that one, and then Quinn Ewers got shut down, hurt. So it'll be interesting to see. I think this is the first real test for Quinn Ewers this season. So we'll see on that. Next up, the game we're all looking forward to, the Cyhawk, the Iowa Sportsbook Bowl game. Iowa versus Iowa State. Iowa is a 4-point favorite. Who y'all got here?
This weekend, this is the 70th all-time meeting between Iowa and Iowa State. Last week, Iowa State beat up on a bad UNI team. We talked about Iowa already. Iowa State, they had an improved special teams unit, which, as we know, can be a big key in the Cyhawk game. We saw it a few years ago with the players running into each other. That's a key part of the game. The Cyclones defense also ate up UNI's O-line. Iowa's O-line isn't great. It's better than that. So the Cyclones D is going to struggle a little more than they did against UNI. But honestly, I think this result was decided before the season even started when Iowa State lost starting quarterback Hunter Deckers. I'm working with a lot of, Sam, you are too. We work with a bunch of Iowa State fans living here in central Iowa. And there was legitimate conversation on whether Iowa State would even win a game. They did that. But in front of President Trump in Ames, give me the Hawks.
Yeah. I'm on the same page. I'll never pick Iowa State. That's just against my blood. I got Iowa. I think it's gonna be low scoring punt fest. Tory Taylor's gonna bounce back from kind of a rough week one. I mean, he did average like 50 yards a punt, but didn't look pretty doing it. I got Iowa here in the low scoring one.
Believe it or not, I'm going to agree. I love Keegan, everything you said. I think they also lost their starting running back in all of that as well. I don't think Iowa State is going to be a very good team this year. Don't really know much about UNI, so I can't really comment on the quality of the UNI football team. But and I also think the decision on Cade McNamara was certainly influenced by what Iowa had coming up. So I think he'll be healthier. I think Iowa's just going to be better prepared. So give me the Hawkeyes.
Yeah. So we are on Iowa in the Iowa Sportsbook game. And we're going to flip to the NFL first week, kicking off tonight. Thursday, Lions versus the Chiefs. Chiefs 4.5-point favorites. Who y'all got here?
Boy, this game got a lot more interesting, didn't it? Oh man, I want to so bad, but I'm not. I'm gonna go with Mahomes. Oh man, but of course the news I'm referencing is the health of Travis Kelce. I do believe he's still questionable, so there's a chance he does play. But still, I mean, even if he doesn't, I'm just not taking the Lions over Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
give me the Lions.
There you go.
To cover.
Boo.
No Kelce, no problem. I like you said, Tanner, I desperately wanted to pick the Lions, but Kansas City, it's going to be some home cooking. The defending champs. Patrick Mahomes historically does very well in week one. He hasn't thrown a week one interception in his career. The Chiefs are winning. The one thing that the Lions don't have, they don't have a great defense. Give me Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I don't really care who their wide receiving core is. I got the Chiefs here. Next up, Packers versus the Bears. The Bears are 1-point favorite, Keegs. Who you got here?
The Bears is a 1-point favorite. Tell me the last time Chicago was favored against Green Bay.
Yeah.
I'm taking Green Bay.
Shocker.
We Green Bay, obviously, with a change of the guard we talked about earlier. I just don't think that the Bears are going to be improved this year. That's definitely the case. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to put up enough points with how bad their defense is. Last year, Chicago had the worst defense in the NFL. They're going to be improved. They made some free agent signings. That's gonna fill up the linebacker core. They brought in a few linebackers to help out. But if I could have picked any team for Jordan Love to go against week 1, it would be Chicago because of that defense. The fact that Bears are favored, it's just because they're home. Give me Green Bay.
I'm gonna agree with Keegs here. I'm gonna go with the Packers. I know. Keegs, I do have an answer, by the way. 2019 was the last time the Bears were favored against the Packers.
Was it injured Rodgers, or was that
no? Actually, they were actually
so that was the last
week
McCarthy year. Yeah, Green Bay was just bad that year. Yeah.
Yep. So they were favored there, and then since 2009, in 28 matchups, the Bears have been favored in. Give me a guess.
Once.
Twice.
Sam? 3. Both you wrong. Idiots. 3 times since 2009. But yeah, I mean, you said it. I trust the defense more. The Bears will be improved. Should be a good game. Give me a Packers.
Yeah. I'm going the Bears because I don't get to go against the Keegs as much as I used to. So I got to take this opportunity. I'm going the Bears here. I love me some Justin Fields. I think the experience is going to show in this game. I got the Bears. Next one, a good one. Dolphins versus Chargers. Chargers are a 3-point favorite. Who y'all got here?
I mean,
oh man, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, this is one of those games that I went back and forth on, and especially considering the last time we saw the Chargers. I mean, you go up several possessions against the Jags in the first half, and you somehow managed to lose the game. So that tells you what the Chargers can be, and well, that shows you the highs and the lows. I think we see some highs at home. Big question for the Dolphins. How long is Tua going to stay in the game? How long is he going to be starting for them this season? I really hope I hope he has a long career in the NFL, but I feel like he gets someone has bad breath too close to Tua. He might be going down. I really hope this is a high scoring game. I'd love that. Give me the Chargers.
Tanner.
Damn it, Keegan. Damn it. I thought maybe we would disagree on this one. I mean, again, it's another one where I want to because of everything you mentioned about the Chargers. However, we're early in the season. You know, we're far away from Chargers choking. And I mean, Miami doesn't have Jalen Ramsey, and I think they're just going to have no answer for the wide receiving core of the Chargers. And Herbert's going to be able to take control of the game through the air. If this is later in the season, maybe we're having a different conversation. Also, this game is in LA. Not that either of these teams really have strong home field advantages, but I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Chargers. I think Kellen Moore is going to be kind of the perfect offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert. I've always held him in high regard, so I got the Chargers here, but close one. I agree, Keeks. Give me a high scoring one. Last game, we're gonna pick the Bills 2.5 point favorites over the newly formed Jets. Who y'all got here?
Oh man. Again, I want to. I'm not. Bills.
If it was later in the season, I might go differently. Going for round 2 might go differently, but give me the Bills. In terms of talent, these teams are pretty comparable, but there's just Aaron Rodgers is going to need some time to settle in with the Jets. I don't think they're going to win week 1.
Yep, I agree. If it's probably majority of any other team, I might take the Jets here, but going up against the Bills, I got the Bills just more. There's going to be growing pains with the Jets, especially in this one. I got the Bills here. And now to wrap up, pick 'em, our new segment, Super Dogs. Again, someone we think is going to cover the spread, but is the underdog. Tanner, let the people know what your first super dog is.
Yeah, my first super dog. I know I had already picked Tulane to beat Ole Miss, and they are in fact underdog. But I'm going to go a different route here. My official super dog is going to be Miami, Florida. They are taking on Texas A&M at home. Miami, Florida looked very good in week one, taking down Miami, Ohio, 38-3. And I'm not big on Texas A&M right now on the road in Miami. I'm gonna go with the Hurricanes to cover +4.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that. Texas A&M, that's ever since Jimbo's been there, they've just been a team that's underperformed. I think that, yeah, I like that.
Has anybody done less with more than Texas A&M?
People are asking. People are asking. I don't know.
Stefanski at Texas, maybe.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
My super dog, I'm going back to the well earlier. Tanner, you said you weren't going to go with this team that you chose. I picked against them straight up, but on the spread, I really like Tulane. I talked about how I think Ole Miss wins a close one. I just love home dogs. And Tanner, you also chose one with Miami +4 at home, Tulane +7 at home. I really trust Michael Pratt. Last year he threw for more than 3,000 yards, 30 tuds, another TED on the ground. So this is a guy that not only is a great passer, but he's also someone, if the play breaks down, he can get out in space. And because of him, I think they could win, but I think they definitely cover.
Yeah, I like that pick.
I also like that pick.
Yeah, yeah. For me, there were a couple, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go Washington State +6.5 over Wisconsin. I was not impressed with Wisconsin and Luke Fickell's debut. Relied heavily on the run game. Felt like they didn't even have a quarterback. Yes, Braylon Allen went crazy. Looked as good as ever. But Cameron Ward went crazy as well. Take this with a grain of salt. He played Colorado State, but he threw the ball 49 times, completed 37, 451 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, and he also ran for 40 yards with a touchdown. So 4 touchdowns. I really like what Wazoo does. Air raid offense. And I just simply think they're going to outscore Wisconsin. I can't believe Wisconsin's actually favored by 6.5, to be honest with y'all. But I got Washington +6.5.
Yeah, that air raid offense. R.I.P. Mike Leach, who used to coach there, and I mean, an offense built on the running game is something completely new to Luke Fickell. He's an air raid guy himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like Wisconsin was able to handle Buffalo pretty easily, but Buffalo, and yeah, going to another Power Five. Will that kind of disconnect between head coach and offensive philosophies come back to hurt him? I think it might. It might.
Yeah. So, Keeks, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think that's a great pick because, anytime a team's able to get more than 300 rushing yards in the game, you're like, oh shit, something's going on here. But it was against Buffalo. They just had bigger offensive linemen. They were able to open holes and just dominate.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to do quite the same against Washington State. Them getting nearly 7 at home.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we are getting wrap up with questions. Got a lot of questions. Shout out to awesome listeners. First question we have comes from Dana Riley. She provided the great 100 balloons today for me. So shout out her. She wants to know, she's got a couple questions. Best moment of college football the past weekend.
I think my favorite moment from this last weekend technically didn't even happen this weekend if we want to, go down that route. But the best sports moment in the last week, in my mind, was the final 5 minutes of the Nebraska-Minnesota game.
Yeah.
I love watching Nebraska just piss away leads at the end of a game. They're 2-14 now in the last 16 one possession games. The last 5 minutes of that game, that was Minnesota getting a touchdown on 4th down to tie the game, which that catch might go down as one of the best catches
Unreal.
all season.
Yeah.
Unreal catch.
That was insane.
Yeah, like Jackson was he was doing almost the splits in order to reach out to get the ball, but still drag that toe at the very end, that toe drag happening a fraction of a second before the other foot went out of bounds. Combine that with 2 Husker turnovers within about 3 minutes, including one of the most telegraphed passes you'll ever see. All of that to end with a nearly 50-yard field goal to win the game as time expires. That was one of those moments. Sam, I think you tweeted, college football's back. It was at that moment where it's like, even though we had a weekend of games ahead in week 0, that was the moment that, oh yeah, college football's back.
Yep. Tanner.
Yeah, for me, I guess technically mine also was not on the weekend. Mine was on Monday because I'm going to take the first field storming of this college football season in the Duke Blue Devils, the Wade Wackos, as pronounced by the announcer and myself actually while watching it. But that was, the first major upset. Obviously, we had Colorado, but first real major upset and one at home. All the students rushing. To me, that was the real college football is back moment when you have stuff like that and college students going crazy after a win that their team probably shouldn't have gotten. So, for me,
for sure,
field storming.
For sure. Those are 2 great ones. I'm going to go with an upset again. Texas State over Baylor. Like, come on, yo.
Mm-hmm.
Texas State kind of took it to Baylor. Obviously, a lot of people didn't know TJ Finley was their quarterback. He was at Auburn and LSU during his collegiate career and just played phenomenal. Proved why he deserves to be in a Power 5. But that was a great one for me. A lot of great moments this past college football week. But next one, another question from Dana Riley. She wants to know, what has been your favorite episode so far? Now, I know we've done a lot of episodes, episode 100 today. I'm gonna adjust her question a little bit. What has kind of been your favorite moment within the past 100 episodes?
Yeah, well, I can tell you what, I do have an answer. My favorite episode is the one after Keeks left.
Yeah,
but
mine too.
My favorite moment easily. I hope I'm taking someone's here because this is easily sticks out to me. But we were talking about probably the biggest Iowa win in a very long time. The Iowa Penn State game, Iowa won. It ended up going to number 2 in the polls after that. But I was talking about multiple false starts in a row. I may have combined them and then said multiple farts. And for the next 20 minutes, us 3 giggled like schoolgirls because we just could not refocus ourselves. We absolutely had the giggles. We tried to re-record multiple times, and
we were in shambles.
We were in shambles. We were trying to cover our mouth while we were laughing. It was just so funny.
It took like 18
an all-time moment.
Yeah,
an all-time moment.
Yeah. My favorite moment, I think it had the one that popped in my mind first was when we were talking about mascots. And Sam, you brought up
Yes.
Rhode Island School of Design.
Yep.
Scrody,
Scrody.
the Dick and Balls hockey mascot.
Electric.
And I mean, just without a doubt, the strangest. I never heard of this before, obviously. Like, how did you even find that?
I know, probably Reddit. Some who knows? The
Because I
deep
pulled
depths
up,
of internet, you know.
yeah, right. Because I pulled up the graphic that's on our Twitter or X page.
Yeah.
And looking at the graphic, because there's some classic ones here. Like Tanner and I, both of us had the Stanford tree.
Of course.
I had the Spurs coyote. Sam, you had the what's the name? The baby?
Oh, the Mardi Gras pelican mascot.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like there's some classic ones on there. And then just straight up just a dick.
Just a dick. Scrody, baby. Greatest mascot of all time. Yeah, those are some great ones. Obviously, we've had a lot of memorable moments on this. One of the first episodes, Keegan trying to pronounce DJ Uong. Yep. I still don't know how to say it. That's a good one. But
do you think I can get it now?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay. But I mean, there were some great punishments with pickup, but my favorite moment has to be when Keegan was double punished. He had to do the chubby bunny, and he had to do the a spoonful of horseradish. And boy, that did go well.
So something that's hilarious. Yeah, something that's hilarious about that was that morning, about 30 minutes before we record the episode, I ran to local Hy-Vee and bought the horsey and just a big old bag of marshmallows. And I kept grabbed a milk spoon on my way over, and we just hit record. And the jar of horsey was rather large, but it was the smallest one I could find. So I paid like $5 for the horsey. And got the spoon in there, put down the horsey. I put the spoon back in the bag that I eventually threw up part of it into. And I threw away the spoon. Like I didn't even want to wash it off. I didn't want to touch
Hey, I don't blame you.
I just tossed it.
Rin got hazmat.
Yeah. That was fun. That's a good one. Obviously, the blended up Happy Meal.
Oh,
delish. Highly recommend. But next question, and one from Carol Gotzi. She has made all the merch. It's gonna be on sale. Tara's got the dad hat. I got the dad hat. You've seen this before. We got t-shirts. This comes in blue and gray. We got more hats. Keegan hasn't bought one, but that's okay.
Where can I find this store, Sam?
It's in the progress. It'll probably be out in a week or two. So,
okay.
She wants to know: did y'all ever think we'd have 100 episodes at this point?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
100% no. The short answer. I mean, this isn't our first time trying something like this, but it's the first time we've kept at it, and I'm so happy we did because it's just fun. It's just fun stuff to do. So absolutely not.
Absolutely. The moment I thought this pod was gonna come to an end was when Keegan left. Because it was because we were all spread out through the US when we started it, and it was just kind of time to hang out, talk sports like we always do. But then Keegan got caught up with work, and I was like, oh shit, not again. But me and Tanner kept with it. Keegs, it's awesome having you back. Obviously welcome anytime, but yeah, But yeah, definitely did not think we'd reach 100.
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't reach 100. I reached roughly 61.
Yeah.
So, bring me back for 39 special episodes
There you go.
and ask me that question. But I think when I left, I thought that it was either going to end immediately or that it'd keep going. And I'm glad to see that you guys kept going because, Tanner, like you said, this isn't the first time we tried something like this. And, we started this up and it was, in the latter parts of the pandemic, we were all spread across the country, Sam, like you said. And so I think once we made it to, as I was more shocked that we made it to 50. And once we made it to 50, I was like, okay, I could see this going for quite some time. But then some things happened in my personal life, and like you said, Sam, with work, it was making things hard to it was making it hard to do the episode.
Yeah.
And I also just I just wasn't I just wasn't having fun with it. That was supposed to be the point.
Yeah.
But this has been a lot of fun. It's been good. It's good to be back.
Absolutely.
And to the both of you guys, congratulations on 100.
I appreciate Keys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now she has another question. How has the podcast changed and evolved through 100 episodes?
Do you remember how? Oh, what's the right word here? Just how stiff.
Oh my God.
Episode 1
exactly
felt.
the right word.
Yeah.
And
it was like we were robots.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
everything was forced. There was virtually no disagreements. We were all like, "Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, I totally agree." No one talked over each other. We all had our set time. Talk when it's your turn. Don't talk when it's not your turn. And it was so rigid, so stiff. That's the perfect word to use for it. So, I mean, also the obvious answer is we dropped a member.
Yeah, that's true.
How many times has the name changed?
3.
Because it had my name to begin with.
Keegan and the boys.
And then what? Then it just went to crunch time, and then
with the boys. I think we dropped your name, and now it's this.
Yeah, it's just with the boys. Yeah,
I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah, we workshopped that a lot.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, the time it took to record has gone down. Not as rigid as cuts and editing. Eliminated some segments like what was that? Judge. It's like judge something.
Yeah, judgment.
Thank you. That one took like 4 hours to do.
Yeah, took a long time to record, and it's not easy with 2.
Yeah,
so we had to cut that one out. But yeah, we workshopped some segments and everything, but
yeah,
it feels like it's grown and evolved a lot, and hopefully our listeners agree.
Yeah, hopefully. Last question comes from Peyton White of View from the Hill. It's an Arkansas football podcast, so check him out. And he wants to know, is Coach Prime for real?
I think definitely.
Go ahead. Yeah, you take this.
Yeah, I think definitely. As time goes on, the sport changes. The sport the college football that we're watching in 2023, it's going to be different next year. But the sport that we're watching now is different from the sport that we grew up watching. It's different from the sport our parents grew up watching. That's just the nature of sport. And the reason why I think Coach Prime is for real is because he is the coach of player empowerment. How he got Travis.
Yeah, Travis Hunter.
Yeah, how he got him in the first place was he wanted to play both ways. And program after program said, no, you're going to have to choose one. But Coach Prime, back when he was still at Jackson State, he said, yeah, Yeah, play both ways. Like, you want to be that guy, be that guy. He's in, and it comes at a perfect time when NIL is taking shape and really changing the sport. He's in the perfect position to really take over the sport. So the hype is crazy, but the hype's real. It's real for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on for real, but I mean, what do you mean by for real? But I absolutely, I mean, as a coach, let's take a look at what he's done here. I mean, he got a number 1 overall recruit to go to Jackson State.
Yeah.
Like, how can this guy not be for real? He took a team that won one football game last year. One. They beat the defending runner up in week 1. Granted, obviously, very different team, but the TCU team was a very different team. But so was Colorado. Why was Colorado a different team? Oh, because of Coach Prime. It's been a short coaching career for him, but it has a lot of accomplishments on it. Now, of course, that's not saying that Colorado is going to win it all this year. Of course not. But you give Prime some time to build what he wants to build. If he can get number 1 overall recruits to Jackson State, he can get number 1 overall recruits to Colorado. I can guarantee you that. So I think Colorado might be on an uptick, certainly just from his ability to recruit and something he has yet to do. He had that obviously last offseason, but that's the offseason when you get hired. So give him a full offseason. Yeah, he's for real.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's kind of the face of what a new coach is going to be. He's kind of setting the standard for this NIL transfer portal period in college football. Like you said, Taryn Jackson State performed well there, got Travis Hunter to go there. Then to be the player's coach that he is, was like, come along, let's ride. And he did that with 50 some players from Jackson State. He's not doing it a traditional way, but it is paying off. I think the biggest thing with Coach Prime is he relates to a lot of people. He knows what he has been through, what these players has been through, can relate, and is just a hell of a players coach. And it seems like the players thoroughly enjoy playing for him and ball out every game, it seems like.
Yeah. How do you guys think Colorado is going to do this year? Because moving forward, it looks like they're just going to get more transfers. They're going to get more recruits in all likelihood. This year specifically, if, because we've talked about the Pac-12 at length in this episode about it's a pretty deep conference, at least the first 6 teams. Do they make it to 8 wins, 10 wins? What's the ceiling like for this team?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because there's so much unknown.
Yeah.
I think they're going to dominate this weekend. I think Nebraska truly has no shot. But I need to see them play USC, Washington, a competitive team where, I mean, a defense needs to be present, because we saw them just basically outscore. There wasn't much defense, obviously. Travis Hunter, yes, but that's about it. And you got to stop teams at some point. You can't score 48 plus a game and expect to win a lot of ball games. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Coach Prime, but I would not be surprised if they get double-digit wins this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be pretty surprised if they get to double digit. I mean, but yeah, this team, it's a new team and with a new coach, but they're just not. They do have a lot of individual talent, but compared to other teams in the Pac-12, which you said, Keegan, we talked about a lot, they're not really there with some of those other teams, right? And it's a tough schedule. It's a tough conference. So I think they'll be bowl eligible and right around that 8 win mark. that you said, Keegan, like 8-4, which I think which is a remarkable feat and another very big achievement in Coach Prime's coaching career, that he was able to get a team that won one game the year before to a bowl game this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. But with that, that will wrap it up for the historic episode 100. We talked about a lot this episode. Winners, losers. What our overreactions for week 1 were. Kind of college football predictions, playoff wise. Let us know what you think. Recapping the Iowa Utah State NFL team predictions, obviously focused on the Vikings, Cowboys, and Packers. And then we hopped in to pick them and some questions. You know where to find us at crunchtime_pod. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, YouTube is up. Crunch Time with the N326 Duo as well. We're dropping every Thursday. Keegan, thanks for coming on. It was good to have you back. Long time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And yeah, episode 100 is complete. You have made it to the end of the episode, so shout out to you. With that, that will wrap up episode 100, and we will see you on the next one on Crunch Time.